you've been around the block. You have really done amazing change for the planet in terms of communication space. And now you have been around startups and blockchain seems to be the next big disruptor on the planet for cultural change, for humanity change. What should people be looking for in the coming years? What will blockchain? How do you see it changing the world?
During 2018, on numerous occasions, when asked, I've on record to say that Bitcoin and blockchain are the two most overhyped, misunderstood technologies in the history of mankind. Going into 2019, I feel the same way. The dot-com era, before the dot-com crash, was 95 to March of 2003. I don't know how many people watching this know what TCP/IP is as a protocol, but it is the technology that helped power the internet, and it's sitting inside of every major device that you're using right now to watch this. Many people don't talk about TCP/IP, but the use of it did not go away just because of the dot-com crash. Blockchain as a technology is the TCP/IP of today. You see, you may have heard of blockchain because of Bitcoin or Ethereum or because of some other coin, but the reality is that blockchain in the future will not be known by anybody. Today, TCP/IP sits so deep inside of your computer, it's sitting in your chips, it's sitting in your operating systems. Those of you old enough to have been using a computer in 2003 or 2004, or even 1997, you'd remember when your computer rebooted, it said loading TCP/IP stack. That's what's happening with blockchain. It's a stack. Now, TCP/IP enabled networks to be created and us to create value on top of that. And it got so hidden from us that we take it for granted. Same thing will happen with blockchain. Now, TCP/IP though, the reason why you hear about hacking happen, is because, like myself, TCP/IP is an open protocol, and people, the folks trying to create havoc, they hack the trust of the openness. What blockchain offers us is the opportunity to have trust. It gives us the opportunity to build applications where we don't know the other application, but we're allowed to trust that the other application will do no harm. There are fallacies in some of that, but let's just say that's true. So we'll now be able to, for the first time in computing history, create network-based apps which we can trust, which changes the mindset, changes the thinking, and enables the impossible to happen sooner. And with that, with some creativity, we have the ability to change the way different market segments work. I've been spent the last 18 months looking at the future of finance, and I'm convinced that there is a quadrillion-dollar opportunity out there for some people to catch on to. Quadrillion is after a trillion, so it's bigger than big. If the dot-com era gave us people that went broke, and millionaires and billionaires, I do think that the blockchain era will give us plus trillionaires. I don't know what you're going to do with $1 trillion. Hopefully something to help be positive and change the world in a good way. But wealth creation will happen. We're living inside another bubble of change and opportunity to do amazing, great things. We have to be careful to learn from our future, not to make the mistakes of the past, but not be bounded by the past to prevent us from being in the future. So there's a dynamic here. I've gotten to sit here today because I didn't allow what I didn't know stop me from doing something. And despite the fact that other people may not have gotten what I was trying to do, I did it anyway. Most great inventions in our lives are someone else's good mistake. Many things we take for granted today, they didn't go out to invent, they stumbled upon it, and it became magic. And that's the way life is. And so I look to embrace that magic and the opportunity to be creative without putting a phrase or a box around it to say they're so-and-so. I think that if we can empower and enable creativity, magic will continue to happen, particularly if we stay positive and not go negative, that we go for the light and not the darkness, and we enable ourselves to see and to be and to breathe and to actually enjoy this journey as it unfolds. The people who say no, create a lot of harm. When we were doing Vonage, we had enough money to hire the best telecom engineers in the world. Most of the time, those people said that what we were trying to solve couldn't be done, so we didn't hire them. For the most part, I liked hiring people who didn't know they couldn't do it. In fact, when I found out in a look back what I pulled off with a free will dial-up petition, which became the Pulver order, if anyone would have explained to me how impossible it was to do what I did, I probably never would have tried. But because I didn't know I couldn't, how hard it was, I did it anyway. Same thing with anything I've taken on in my life. And so when I look to the future, the future at the end of the day, it's people. It could be technology, but we as people, we are the blockchain. We are the world. We are that voice, that connective fabric that connects the soul of the world together. So when I look to the future, it's people driven. It's how we connect, how we engage, how we share. Can blockchain have a role in it? Absolutely. Can it enable us to do things we couldn't do before? Yes. Will it? Probably. There's the very ugly dance happening right now between blockchain and regulators, because when it was born, some people choose to go directly after the banking and finance industry and put everything on the line to make blockchain work only there. It turns out that blockchain will probably have a much bigger impact in other markets outside of finance. In 1972, an application called Pong was born. When Pong came out, it was very, very shy application. It came out because Nolan challenged an engineer to create something. No one knew that the introduction of Pong would arguably start the entire multi-trillion-dollar gaming industry, from AR, VR, and electronic gaming, because it did not harm anybody when it came out. I still remember as a kid having a black and white TV, having a little console, and playing table tennis. And when I pull back on it, what I realized, it was a chipset, some kind of chip sitting in a box with some software that enabled me to play a game. That's how I explain the relationship of Bitcoin and blockchain. Blockchain to me are those chips in that box for Pong. The Pong game, that's Bitcoin. But Pong was born into this unregulated industry and did no harm. And it fostered and it grew and it continues to grow today. If we go into regulated markets, we have to be careful what happens when we're misunderstood. When our intentions are misunderstood, things can happen which go awry. And there's a lot of that that's happened. And people breaking the law because they don't know the law, and people not understanding the truth. Messy, messy, messy. My history, I've been on the edge of innovation a few times in my life. Pong was an example I look back to because I get it. When I entered the business world, it was the years that spreadsheets came into existence. I actually, for 7 years, had a company called Spreadsheet Solutions. And the introduction of spreadsheets, other than disrupting dairy farming, did no harm. It helped change the way the world worked. It helped revolutionize business. Again, it didn't take on any heavy regulated industry. It just worked. And to this very day, spreadsheets today help change the way we look at finance through financial modeling. It's unfortunate that the first major vertical that Bitcoin came out in and became Bitcoin, blockchain came out and became Bitcoin, was finance, because it was of all the corners of the world to pop up in, hyper-regulated. But blockchain can offer us trust in many other areas, which I've seen already. And there's magic out there. It's a niche that needs to find itself. And when it's found, it can serve amazing things. We're only bounded by our imagination. The idea of having smart programmable securities that behave differently depending upon certain circumstances will revolutionize capital markets. There's no doubt. I wrote a paper about the coming of the new .com. I call it .com 2.0. If .com 1.0 was hype plus opportunity going public, .com 2.0 are unicorns, hyper growth, hyper revenue companies that issue not an IPO but a security token offering, where the digital security has incentives that align the investors with the ecosystem of the underlying company. So each company is different. That means, by the way, that metrics like KPIs like earnings per share go out the window, because we're going to have to measure the performance of every company differently now in this brave new world. But another interview some other time. But where can blockchain go? Anywhere, everywhere. There is blockchain in space already. There's no doubt that we're going to be figuring out how we're going to manage things. We can use blockchain technologies to prevent spam, spam calling on our phones, spam text messages. It's all about authentication, but we need people to believe in this and to allow us to make good mistakes. We have to allow ourselves to be creative and to go through the unknown and not know what we don't know, and then make mistakes and fail and pick up and grow. I mean, if you were to ask me, so what's the difference between success and failure? You know, the reality is when we're successful, we don't know why we're successful. But failure to me is not learning from your failure.